I'm going to share my screen here. And there's two things I want to show you guys. One is I want to walk you through the platform just a little bit to highlight some of the enterprise controls that Tanuj referenced. And then we'll get into the meat of the conversation here, or the demo rather, which is me literally building a workflow from scratch and hoping it works for you guys to understand the efficiencies that we're talking about. So as my screen loads, I believe you can see it now. It is this is a container of services that we refer to. And what I've done is, just in a demo environment, of course, I've created a few services that are representative of some of our large verticals, right? That we sell into quite a bit and that utilize our platform. In these, you can come in and you'll get a glance of traffic. You'll obviously have access to your workflows, any rules that you have associated with those workflows and event APIs, and then your API credentials themselves, whether they're JWT tokens or service keys that you're leveraging. This all becomes important whether you're leveraging us for the workflow automation and the orchestration canvas that Tanuj highlighted, that is going to represent 95% of the demo today. But there is also the conversational APIs, as we refer to them, as that allow you to just simply send and receive messages on any given channel that we support. All right, so these are the more traditional base layer APIs that you might be familiar with when the term CPaaS is floated out there. Beyond the services themselves, there's obviously groups and teams hierarchy. I'm in a demo team right now. But to Tanuj's point, if you had an HR organization and a marketing organization and a development organization all within the same company, they would all roll up to the same tenant of Webex Connect. And then within those groups and or teams, you'd be able to assign different roles and capabilities for your teammates, as they're referred to as. I just invited my personal Gmail account in here, and then you can see the different types of roles that you'd have access to, and then a roles guide here to help you understand how roles-based access controls would be governed. From an asset management standpoint, you have the ability to come in here and manage integrations. So this is where you can build custom integrations into the solution. So if you have a proprietary system or a CRM vendor that you leverage quite extensively across use cases, this is where you would come in and build a integration with that system or systems. So you could quickly access it in your canvas, and this will make more sense once I pull up the actual orchestration workflow in a minute. On the app side, I have some richer channels, with the exception of email, that I've included in here, where you can come in and you can literally configure your own rich messaging channel, whatever it might be, in order to facilitate communications and meet your customers where they want to be met at their moments of need. And then, of course, you have the ability to manage your phone numbers as well. These can be short codes. They can be what were formerly known as long codes, and now, because they're all being regulated, at least in the United States, is starting to be the case in Canada, they're referred to as 10 DLCs, so 10-digit long codes. It's just a different naming convention that the carriers use. And then, of course, these can be 1-800 numbers as well, or TFNs, toll-free numbers, however you want to term those. You'll notice here that we have SMS, MMS, and then the little phone number for voice, or the phone handle for voice, indicating that those are all capabilities that are associated with this number specifically. And again, that's all going to be subject to how you decide to deploy the platform and use it. So with that, the documentations page, this will become relevant towards the end of the presentation, where we'll advertise our sandbox environment that's free to use as well. But this is where a lot of the information about the platform itself is available, from a full feature kind of scenario where you're leveraging the flow builder and all the bells and whistles, or more specifically to where I am in the documentations page now. This is where the API reference lives. So if you're just using this from a true kind of base layer communication API standpoint, and you're building intelligence and integration logic on your side, this is where you would come to benefit from our APIs. The send message v2 is probably our most predominantly used one. And in fact, just to kick us off here, I'm going to leverage that API. I'm using Postman, as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, to generate a voice call. I have my handy phone over here. I'm working off of one screen, so apologies. I'm going to send myself a phone call. I'm going to edit this. I'm just to make it long enough to where I have time to hit the speakerphone button on my phone. So this is a very long message for the webinar. Okay, thank you. Enjoy the show. Okay, so I'm going to send this through, and we'll hopefully pick up in time. Maybe I didn't pray enough to the demo gods. Oh, I have do not disturb on. Hold on 1 second. Turn that off. Let's try that again. There we go. Enjoy the show. And I was not ready for that. So let me do it one more time just so you can understand what it said. Test 3. Send this through. I'll receive the call, have the volume up now, and you'll see, hopefully, call come through again.
Today, thank you. Enjoy the show, test 3.
Okay, so it works. Sorry about the fumbling there. And that's obviously voice. So now let me navigate over to the PowerPoint presentation. And this is really going to kick off the workflow that we're going to be supporting for the demo here. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the build out from scratch of a integration where there's an external system, let's call it a CRM, point of sale, doesn't matter, that's going to trigger a workflow in Connect. And then the workflow in Connect is going to be responsible for generating an integration or benefiting from an integration to interrogate a database and understand information, metadata in this case, on a location for an end user, where we're then going to determine time zone for this end user. And then we're going to make sure that that time zone is within the social hours, the acceptable time frame to send somebody a message. This is predominantly used in marketing scenarios or proactive communications where you don't want to send somebody a message in the middle of the night, for example. Any additional logic and decisioning that needs to be done with that message, determining channel, making sure this person is opted in to receive messages in the first place. And then we're actually going to send the person a message, myself in this case, and we're going to open up a response opportunity. So that effectively creating a two-way conversation in a structured workflow that you'll see here in Webex Connect, allowing the person to respond. In this case, we're just going to integrate with a third-party API that I use. It's a stock API that allows you to check the current price on a given stock ticker symbol. And then we're going to reopen that conversation back to the end user, allowing him or her to respond again. So very simple use case, very, very high level to a degree. We're going to focus on the happy path, but I do want to also take time to go through where the error pathing can be included into these workflows. As we all know, that's incredibly important in real life production scenarios. So navigating back over to Webex Connect now, we're going to focus on so I'm going back to the services. I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to create our own service for this. We're going to call it webinar demo. And again, I got my service keys here. If I need them, I'm not going to use them for the sake of this demonstration, but I am going to navigate over to workflows. And then once I'm in workflows, I'm going to click on create. I'm going to call this demo 1. We'll go ahead and start from scratch. If you had any template, any desire to use the templates as a kind of shortcut to get started, by all means, these are available here as well. And the first thing the system asks for is a webhook or a initiation. How is this workflow going to be triggered? We're going to start with webhooks, but this could be a custom event stemming from a file that gets dropped. It could be a series of integrations that are predefined in accordance with your tenant, how it's being leveraged, if it's in concert with contact center, for example, or if it's a standalone application of the tool, or if you're actually leveraging end users, a call to action somewhere where you're asking them to scan a QR code, send in a text message, or whatever they might be doing to initiate a conversation with your brand or your workflow in this case. Just to keep things on the more technical side, we're going to go ahead and assume that this is going to be triggered via a external system. So we're going to go ahead here and select webhook as we just did. I'm going to create a new event. I'm going to call it webinar demo 1 just to match my service name. And then this is where the efficiency really starts pouring in. The sample input allows you to suggest what that JSON or XML might be that is going to be ingested into the workflow to then start having the workflow do something for you. In this case, I'm just going to use a customer ID parameter. When I click on parse here, you'll now see that customer ID presents itself as an output variable. So you'll see I have my standard metadata that comes with the just kind of standard variables and parameters that come with the platform. And then I'm going to use customer ID as one here as well to integrate with an external database. I'm going to be using Google Sheets here. So this is just Google Sheets. These are my 2 records that I have in this hypothetical database. And when I connect these two, this then allows me to perform a get against my endpoint here. Let me pull up my handy sheet. There we go. And then what's really cool about this is that it allows me to test over here. And you'll see that it gives me the full response of the values associated with the database. So again, if I were to come over here and change this to, we'll just add a bunch of E's there. And I hit test again, get rid of the documentation. When I click test here, you'll see that it's updated dynamically in real time. Now, what I can do is I can copy this if I don't have access to Postman for whatever reason or something like that, and I can import my sample output or response that I'm going to parse against in here, and the system will parse for me. So it's going to give me a bunch of values that I got back. Obviously, Google Sheets doesn't do a good job of leveraging the headers field to give these friendly names. So I'm just going to, by memory, I suppose, say this is my customer ID, my first name, my last name, my location, my phone number, and my channel of preference, my fallback channel, and my status, right? Especially when we start talking about SMS, we're going to keep this WhatsApp focused just because it's easier to demo and it's a richer channel. But if this were SMS, for example, you would definitely want to be able to check against whether this person is opted in to receive messages or not. So go ahead and import, bear with me as I go through here. So we'll call this one customer ID, and these can be completely friendly names. They don't really need to respect any sort of traditional syntax or naming convention. So we'll go first, we'll do last, what was next? We'll do location, phone, and channel. So location, phone, channel. and we'll do fallback and status. So fallback and status. So this sets us up pretty well to now apply a ton of conditional logic as well as dynamic attribution into the bodies of messages or subsequent API calls that we're going to make. So at this point, we want to hit the social hours check to make sure that this person is being messaged within a acceptable time frame, right? So we're going to leverage the location API to determine time zone, right? So we're going to go ahead and actually we're going to use this guy here. There's one called location. What is the zip code? Here we go. Actually, hold on, I think there was a better one. Yeah, this gives us time zone here. So perfect. So we're going to go ahead and call this request. And we're going to leverage the city, which is going to be the location here. Well, let's just go ahead and assume for a second it's Boston. We'll go ahead and we'll test it. API key, of course. And for those of you wondering if you'll be able to use my API key, that is just going to get changed right after this call. So have at it. Until then, API Ninjas is great, by the way. Highly recommend their third-party APIs if you need them for demos or whatever the case might be. So here we go, test. Doesn't like that either. What am I doing wrong? Well, I guess we need a state. And we'll do Massachusetts. Okay, still doesn't like it. All right, well, this was working. Let's see, Boston. That's spelled right, Boston. All right, well, we'll skip this step. So let's assume here that we can infer time zone as a dynamic parameter. And we'll just move on to the social hours check node here, which is now going to go ahead and tell us, all right, what time of day is it acceptable to send this person a message? We'll go ahead and do it by day just to show you the full range of features here. This allows you to go down day of the week, whatever the case might be. You can make these dynamic if you want. In fact, I was trying to get down to the path where we would make this dynamic, where we would have dynamic time zone, but we'll just go ahead and do America's New York. That's -4. We'll do East Coast and wherever that is. We'll just go ahead. We'll do São Paulo because I know that is within the time range right now, within the 9 to 6 p.m. range. So it's going to let us through. What we could do here also is we could branch requests not in a social hour, but we could send them down a separate path. So for example, if it's not in social hours, we could send somebody an email instead, which is a less intrusive channel. And if it is within social hours, which is obviously going to be the case for this demo at least, we'll go ahead and send them a WhatsApp communication. And we'll do this via the WhatsApp ID, which is going to be represented by the phone number in this case, right? If this was Apple, it would be a opaque ID. If it was Google, it'd be a Google ID, so on and so forth. And then in this message here, we're going to go ahead and say, what company's stock would you like to look up? And then one of the cool things here that you can do also, and I'm going to be leveraging webhook.site, another third-party application, just to showcase how correlation IDs and notification URLs or callback URLs, depending on how you refer to these as, can be referenced. We'll go ahead and call this WhatsApp message 1. And then you can add extra metadata in here if you wanted to, like a timestamp, for example. That can all be applied there. And then, of course, we're going to give the person the option to respond to this message. These are common receive nodes, by the way, so it could be you could be managing multiple channels all in a single workflow. So in this case, I'm going to give myself 120 seconds to respond. This could be 28,000 or however many seconds are in a day, or a week, I think is the limit. And then you can get into a design principles conversation where you could have a catch-all workflow that basically plays traffic cop, and anybody who responds outside of a specific window hits that catch-all, and then based on the conditional logic applied in that workflow, will then get farmed out to the appropriate subsequent workflow that you would want to manage that end user's request. And then over here, we're going to go ahead and use phone again. So phone, save. Oh, it's going to be an incoming message. And then we're going to mine that message and provide a response. So in this case, again, we're going to make another API call to a third-party system. This is the stocks API that I was talking about originally. Let's do stock market here, stock price. These guys. Copy this one in. It's a standard get. We'll do the API. Oops. Do this thing again. There we go. And then these are examples of where you could actually be leveraging a custom node. I decided not to go that route for the demo because we would then spend the majority of the demo building the actual custom node, which essentially is what you're looking at here, except with a variety of methods pre-populated against it that you would then just leverage dynamic parameters to populate it as needed, like the specific ticker symbol in this case. Let's go ahead and just do, well, we're here with Cisco. Let's do Cisco. And if we test this, we get a response. In this case, we're going to go ahead and put this in here. We're going to parse it. It's going to give us the values that we're looking for, along with the naming convention, which is helpful. And then you can determine which ones are relevant, which ones aren't, right? So we're going to we'll just do all of them for now. But if, for example, the timestamp wasn't necessary, you could leave that off. I think that's everything we need. So import. Great. We'll just give them ticker, price, company name. We'll call this one the exchange, and this will be timestamp. Great. Save. So now I can leverage anything that was collected in here and send that down a subsequent message to the end user, sending him or her the response that they're looking for. So again, we go back through here and benefit from our parsed parameters. Whatever the following information was provided, and then you can start providing the information that you would like here. So you just say ticker is this. Price is this, company full name is this. And then if you wanted to get real fancy, we'll go ahead and do the notification URL again, just so you can see how this gets all populated once I run it. I'll call this what's up message 2. Let's do a timestamp there. Save. And now we're essentially done. I'll wrap it up because I know we want to leave time for questions and answers, but at this point, you could basically include in the body of your message whatever you want at the end of the day, but in here you could say reply, or I guess we could just do you want to do this again? And then you would essentially, I'm just copying and pasting nodes at this point. Let's go ahead down here. Incoming message, everything's the same. And then if the person replies yes or no, you can just use a standard if-else condition. You could use, what I was starting to say earlier, is you could use the evaluate condition, which is allows you to inject JavaScript into the workflow itself. So if you wanted to take that timestamp that was provided in seconds and turn that into something that a normal person would read, you could use JavaScript for that. You could also use it for this conditional logic, but a standard branch will suffice for now. We'll go down the yes path, and this will be the person's response. Why is that on? I think I need to select. Yeah, I should. Here, yes, give that branch a name. The variable itself, there we go, will be the WhatsApp message. And then we could just make it contains yes. Then you can have your standard and or conditions as well. You could add another branch for no. In this case, it's a binary decision, so none of the above is the else condition. I'll just go ahead and say save. And then if they go down the yes path, we will basically loop them back to the beginning of the experience. If they say no or something else, we'll say, okay, goodbye. Okay, thank you. And then this will be message. All right, so now we have a bidirectional workflow that integrates with at least 2 or 3 different systems, and you can save it and then edit it if you'd like. You see that we get a bunch of errors and warnings. These are in the yellow or amber color, meaning that you can still go live with this. There's nothing critical that's missing, but you may want to check these out. And what it's referring to basically are these yellow and red nodules that you see. This is where all the error pathing and timeout conditions can be applied. Obviously, in a production workflow, those would exist, and you would want to include those. But as I make this live, you can add version. So version 1 stock price. Everything is version controlled as well. And once you're in a go live status, you lose the ability to edit, but you can see here that it's publishing. If I had multiple versions in here, you would see those, and then you can fall back or forward into whatever version makes sense. While that's publishing, it only takes like a minute or so. You have your access to the channels here. Integrations is another one. This is where all the pre-built integrations can come with your workflow, or if you were to build custom integrations like we did with Google Search, for example, they would live here, and you would have access to these freely within your workflow as a person who's building and deploying these. All right, so let's see if this works. Let me go ahead and turn that back on. Great. So now essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this this endpoint. I'm going to come over here. I already had this kind of pre-populated. I'm updating the endpoint. Customer ID is going to be 1234. Customer ID, that's the same parameter there. So let's go ahead and hit send. There is it. Okay, what company stock would you like to look up? I'm sure NVIDIA is on everybody's mind lately. Let's do NVIDIA. And there it is. Oh, I hard-coded it to Cisco. That's why. And what's really cool about this, before we run out of time, is you have live debugging. So you have the ability to see everything that happened in accordance with that transaction as it's happening. So if I come in here and I couldn't figure out what it was, I would be able to come in here and interrogate essentially all the different steps that the workflow went through. It's all encrypted. So you would need special access to be able to do that. But let's see here real quick. That is something that a platform user would have the ability to view. So I'm going to make this the first received message here. Save. Make live again. So now we'll have two versions. Fixed. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and fire away. Let me just close this out. No. And we'll send this again. Okay, what company stock? Let's try that again. NVIDIA. And voila, there we go. A little down compared to where they were at their all-time high yesterday. So with that, I conclude the live build. Thank you for your patience as I walk through that. But as you can hopefully see that for an enterprise, this might be a more efficient path forward than hand rolling code, depending on the scenario, of course. Before I stop sharing my screen or give up the share, I do want to advertise our sandbox. It's free to use. There's the link. I think it'll be shared in the space as well. And please sign up, test it out. There's user guides in our documentation that'll help you get started. Thank you. I hope you found this insightful.